Hi guys, welcome back to the channel for another video. I am so excited about today's topic because I didn't pick it. My fabulous new patrons over on Patreon voted on today's video. I launched a brand new Patreon yesterday after a few years of requests. I finally got around to it. My friend Josie will be very, very happy. There will be more information about that at the end of this video. Amazing stuff that we're doing over there. Monthly emails from me, private Zoom calls, just you and I, our new weekly private YouTube live stream, and being able to vote on videos and see them early, like these patron people are watching right now, before YouTube people get to watch tomorrow. So more info at the end. Today we're talking about signs that you may have an eating disorder. This also applies to disordered eating, chronic dieting. I think this is stuff that most people should be cognizant and aware of, particularly with how common disordered eating and eating disorders are. All very serious, all treatable. And I think these videos are important to do because there is an element of self-denial that can come along with having an eating disorder. I know for me personally that for the vast majority of my illness, I really wasn't aware that I was unwell, in part because so many of my behaviors, thoughts, beliefs, patterns were normalized by diet culture, which is why this applies beyond an eating disorder diagnosis. With or without a diagnosis, it's serious. It can change. You don't have to live in a miserable way. You don't have to suffer. So the first one to look out for is increasing rules and rigidities around food. This might seem obvious. Yes, some eating disorders and how they behave come with rules that are about, cutting out entire food groups or only eating up to a certain amount of calories. But they don't have to be that obvious per se. We can even have things like foods that we'll only eat at certain times. For me, good example was something I put on Instagram this morning, which is that I had a rule which started off as I only eat pasta for dinner. Seems fairly innocuous. I have friends who message me and were like, yeah, that's normal. I'm like, well, I can eat pasta now for lunch. I've been known to have pasta for breakfast and certainly at snack times. So it is totally normalized. That rule, which seems innocuous, led to can only have whole wheat pasta. Then must take cheese off pasta, which then led to eating that awful noodle pasta that literally they have to keep in a little pouch of gel on the supermarket shelf. Any food that requires some kind of chemical compound to keep it together in an effort to imitate pasta is not pasta. Pasta can just sit dry in a packet. So anything that's floating around in fluid calling itself pasta probably isn't pasta. And it smells very like ammonia-y, which can't be a great sign, which then led to eventually like no pasta. The rule is no pasta. So what starts off as a really innocuous rule, which you probably don't even think of as a rule, then starts to spiral with whatever period of time passing into what we would probably acknowledge as a more extreme rule. So have a look at how you're thinking about when you eat food, the amount of food that you can have, the context in which you can have food. I was discussing with a client even recently about a breakfast food that they feel they can have in a social context, but when brought into the home, feels impossible. So that starts somewhere. It doesn't just land on your doorstep one day fully formed. All of these things can be challenged in the pursuit of total food freedom. Total food freedom doesn't just mean the kinds of food we have access to. It's when we're allowed to eat. It's that we're allowed to eat for enjoyment. That we're allowed to go, oh yeah, I'm full, but that pizza's excellent and it's there, so yes, thank you. Food flexibility and freedom goes far beyond just what kind of food we're having, right? It's really removing all conditions. Your relationship with food is not conditional. You don't have to earn your food in any way. The second and very prevalent one that I see not only in our What Mia Did Next community, but also in clients and certainly my own experience, is avoiding eating with others. This can happen for a variety of reasons, one of which being that we're protecting our rules and rigidities, which we talked about in the first example. So it could be that a friend spontaneously asks you to come over for dinner, but that doesn't fit into what you had pre-planned for that day. or it makes you feel anxious, even the concept of eating in front of somebody without preparing mentally for it. So that spontaneity, that ability to be flexible with our choices and make choices about who we want to be with and how we want to spend our time is already predetermined by how we feel about interacting with food in front of other people. I think that even prepping food in front of other people can be a huge source of anxiety and a big indicator that maybe our relationship with food is something to look at. This is something I experienced. I was even talking to my sister about this over the weekend, that we both have shared this feeling over our lifetime, which is I would prepare food in the kitchen and someone would even walk in like through the room to get to the laundry or to get a drink, or maybe they did just want to chat or prep their own dinner while they were talking to me, and I would be like, I want the floor to swallow me up. I want to run upstairs. I suddenly don't care about any of this. Nope, not interested. I have so much anxiety about being in the kitchen with somebody, them seeing my food, how I'm preparing the food, not even that it was even that conscious or that I was that aware of it at the time. I just knew I felt so overwhelmed and claustrophobic that I just wanted to get out of there. Nothing mattered but getting out. And that's something to really, really look at, that we're so self-conscious, that we're so cognizant of other people around our food, potentially judging our food, looking at how we're interacting with it. That can be a big red flag where it's like, oh no, I think my relationship with food is totally normal. I really don't want to eat with other people or have other people see how I interact with food because they might think that it's disordered. Do you see what I mean? Like, these two realities can't exist in the same space at the same time. Our resistance to prepping food in front of people, eating in front of other people, is a real indicator that we're hyper aware of our relationship with food. We're hyper concerned with how other people will interpret our relationship with food, with what other people are eating. Having that hyper personal vigilance or that hyper awareness about what other people are eating or how they're eating or how much they're eating or how healthy their selection is, and even trying to make sure we're eating less than others, or that we're trying to like be the healthiest person at the table. Kind of these two things are linked, obviously, with our first topic about rules and rigidity, because they are rules that we must, really isn't how people with an ordered relationship with food interact socially around food with other people present. Now that I've worked through that stuff, I can prep food around people. I don't seize up and like, you know, the hairs on the back of my neck stand up like, oh my God, please leave, please leave. When I'm sitting around a table with people and eating socially, I'm not aware of what they're eating. I'm not concerned about them watching me eat and, you know, being preoccupied with what I'm eating, because I've sat on both sides of that fence. I know that my eating disorder was responsible for that level of preoccupation. Now the eating disorder is gone, the preoccupation is gone, and it will go throughout your recovery. It's just a hyper awareness of food because that is its focus 24/7. So if you find yourself becoming anxious and avoidant in terms of mixing food situations with other people, whether it's your housemate walking in while you're cooking dinner, or somebody asking you to go and have breakfast unplanned that you haven't been able to calculate and fit into all of your rules and rigidities, that is definitely one to look out for. The third one to look out for is body checking. Body checking is the process by which we try to kind of get a grip on what we look like, right? Some people do that by checking repeatedly in the mirror, by checking by their clothes, whether or not they fit into them or they're, you know, fitting into this range of sizes. It might be, like it was for me, taking photos and then going through and trying to get a grip on what do I look like? I was truly just lost how I could look one way in one mirror, a different way in a different one, a different way in a photo, different in the reflection of the school bus that I'd walk past on the way to work. Like, I couldn't get a grip on what I look like. We body check for a variety of reasons, and that is one of them, that it's hard to get an idea of what you look like because there might be some body dysmorphia at play. There's a few methods by which we body check, and I think that it's really, again, another normalized one by diet culture because of things like on Fitspo accounts and all kinds of different accounts, like even cosmetic surgery accounts. It makes me so sad. Before and after photos. That's body checking. Doing a comparison of this is what I weighed before, this is what I weigh now. Which is why in the eating disorder recovery community, I find it strange that we're still having conversations about whether or not before and after photos are appropriate. There's so many reasons they're not, but that's a big one. It's a body check. It just is, regardless of your intention. It's a body check. So if you find yourself engaging with practices like measuring and checking and photographing and going from mirror to mirror, or going to the one mirror, or trying on a whole lot of clothes and seeing how they fit and whether or not you can accept yourself in this one, that's something to look out for. Yes, it should be possible to say, I'm going to this thing, I'm going to put this outfit on and leave. That is the goal, and something that I work towards with clients. This whole process that we get into, like I used to, trying on 10, 20, 30 outfits, checking in every mirror, taking photos, to whatever degree you're doing this stuff, that is not an ordered way to interact with your body. Is that to say that once you're recovered that you just have this magical in harmony relationship with your body image? No, because you couldn't expect that of somebody who'd never had an eating disorder. I'm actually more equipped to deal with it and react to it and cope with it than someone who never had an eating disorder, because I've had to do the work, which is again another benefit of recovery that most people never get exposed to because they don't have eating disorders and they're not forced to do this work. But yes, I feel uncomfortable in my body sometimes, usually in the run up to my period. They are the comfy clothes days, my friends. And because I'm kind to myself and put myself in cozy clothes and don't hang out in front of the mirror and, try to make it better, the next day it's easier. It's not as intense, and then a couple of days pass and we're back to cool, whatever. And then other days it's like, hello sunshine. So body checking is one which is fairly normalized, one to be mindful of if you're starting to really focus in on certain body parts, if you're becoming fixated, if you feel like you can't get a sense of what you look like, and going mirror to mirror, taking photos, examining, trying to get a grip on what you're seeing, that's something to look for. If any of these things seem like they're happening, you're concerned about them, you want to address them, first step is always to get in touch with whatever your local hotline is, whether it's the Butterfly Foundation here in Australia, Bodywise, which is in Ireland. Usually you can find them. You just need to look up whatever your local service is. Have a chat on their hotlines or on their web chats, just to kind of get comfortable with talking about it. Go and speak to a psychologist, to a GP, open up to friends and loved ones. Know that we live in a disordered society where friends and loved ones might be like, oh yeah, I do that. Don't just assume from that response that this is something you can't work on or that you don't need to address. That is one of the big complexities of approaching this stuff, is that it's just super, super normalized, but you don't have to live like that. It's absolutely possible to address these things and move past these things and come from a place where it's more about what you're passionate about, who you're with, what you're doing. That's truly what our energy is best spent on, is who we are as people and what we're doing with our lives, not the circumference of your waist. Trust me, I've done both. I know which one I choose. I have felt so fortunate to have this incredible community build over the last 7 years. And there was a time when I could support you and interact with you a little bit more directly. Some of the OG people in this community will remember that. And where there is a blessing, like our community growing and reaching more people who need to find our, support and our love, the more that happens, the less possible it is for me to be able to offer you cool stuff that I think can really help you. Patreon offers a level of privacy and safety and a little bit more direct contact from me, because it's easier to manage than, over 55,000, almost 56,000 people coming to a YouTube channel. It's also because you guys so generously and beautifully have said over the years, how can I support you? Like, how can I just show you a little bit of love that's not going to break the bank? And I've so appreciated that, because as my platform has grown, I've been demonetized almost completely by YouTube. I talk about mental health or eating disorders, and my video has no hope of making any money. And as you guys know, 99% of my content is trying to raise awareness about eating disorders. And it costs money. It costs equipment. Over the years, it costs my time and my work day. I have never charged for the forum, which costs me money to run every year. And I make no money off it, nothing. Not that that was ever the endeavor, but it's now time that I take away from my business to continue making content. And it's a little bit demotivating to put all this effort in, hours in of research and filming, etc., and then be told by YouTube, you're trying to help people, you can't, talk about eating disorders, you can't talk about mental health, even if you do it safely. So for anyone who would like to support and has ever wanted to support my advocacy, the best way for you to do that would be to sign up for the $2 membership, which is the official contributor tier on Patreon. So for $2 a month, you get to vote on upcoming video topics like my beautiful patrons did for today, early access to these videos, which you'll see the day before they're scheduled to come out on YouTube, and a shout out at the end of every video thanking you for supporting and just, helping me to do more of this stuff for you guys. Then we have the VIP member tier, which is $5 a month. You receive for that money everything that you got in the first tier, plus our new exclusive weekly YouTube live stream / Q&A, which is at 9 a.m. Sydney time every Thursday, where I'm going to answer all your questions about recovery, general life questions, advice, and it's going to kind of be like a support group. It's going to be a bit of a more private, safe place for us to dig into the real issues about diet culture, body acceptance, recovery. And that is totally exclusive and purely available to Patreon members. Then there's our Pen Pal category, which is the most popular category. I didn't expect this, but I think it's a really cool one. So on top of everything that you get in those two previous categories, you also get a monthly email from me, which is a personal email from me to you. Definitely want to hear back from you. That's why it's called Pen Pal, telling me all about whether it's your recovery or your life or your pets or your travel plans once we're not locked into our local area. Plus, obviously, like I said, everything that you get in the other tiers. Then we have the Access All Areas Pass, which I'm so excited about because it gives me the opportunity to really get to know you guys, to be able to advise you a bit more directly, give you some support, and hopefully play a bit of like a big sister role in your life, which includes a private monthly Zoom call for 15 minutes every single month, you and I, talking about whatever you want, asking whatever questions you want. It's not an official recovery coaching call, but it can be a place for us to talk about what's going on, give you a bit of extra support, a bit of extra guidance, to talk about my experience, but also maybe to give you some prompts and some pointers as a coach as well. And obviously you get everything that you get in the previous tiers as well. And that is for $50 a month, given it also involves the call. If you'd like to come and join in whatever capacity, I would love to have you there. I think the most powerful thing about this channel, about my work, is this community. And I'd love the opportunity to be able to provide you guys with a bit of extra support and to, be able to get to know you one-on-one. It becomes impossible the bigger your platform becomes. Not complaining, but that is the element of social media I really miss. When my sister was like, let's grow your channel, when it had like 2,000 followers. And I was like, no. I like having just private chats with people, and it's just less and less possible. But Patreon makes it possible, and it also fulfills those requests I've been getting for, can I just support your work? You can also cancel whenever you like. You're not locked into any contracts. You can be there for 6 months, for a year, for 3 months. You can downgrade your membership if you like. I don't need that extra support anymore. Pop it back down to a lower tier. So there's no sort of rigidities and rules. Anyway, guys, I hope to see you on Patreon. All of my beautiful patrons, thank you so much for picking this topic. I can't wait to see you at our very first private live stream next Thursday. And just so excited for the next chapter of what we're going to do together. Okay, guys, much love. Take care. Bye.